Begin. So Douglas Finance Committee, June 24, is it?
Yes.
2025. We're going to do a roll call by attendance because we have one person on Zoom. So
Robert Leonardi.
Sandy Kuipers.
Dick Vandenberg.
Brian Hogan.
Okay, so we have our quorum.
Oh, Heather disconnected.
Where's my shirt? Actually,
Okay, Heather, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, say Heather Moran present.
Heather Moore present.
Okay, good. And then I haven't heard from Howard or Mike, and Lynn let me know that she had something else tonight, so she won't be able to make it, but we have our quorum. So, Matt, I put you up first in case you have anything you need to share with us as we look ahead to July 1 in the new fiscal year.
Don't really.
Okay, Sandy, you had a question, though.
Yes.
Can you come to the mic, Matt?
Oh, Sandy.
I know, I'm so sorry, but just I was kind of going over the minutes to the meeting from our May 5, I believe it was, where we had to pay for the dam inspection, and I wasn't sure what the closure was on all, like it was a amount that we had to transfer, and then the seller was supposed to pay for it, and then all of a sudden it came to us, and I was just wondering what the backstory was on how all of a sudden that became the town of Douglasville, and I never heard closure on that.
Well, I still have a couple of tricks up my sleeve, Mr. Chairman, through you to Sandy, to try to get them to pay for it, because there are pockets of value they have, so even if they don't sell us the main property, whether they do or not, they also have an easement we'd like to extinguish, so there may be a way to make a trade-off so that we get our value for what we paid for. It was due diligence, and frankly, we gave them every opportunity to do it for us and at their own expense, and they never got it done. So now I reached the point where you have to make a decision, right? All the other due diligence is done, and it's an important element of the property. So, you know, I'd spend 6 to not blow 875.
Okay.
That's pretty much the calculus, right? So town meeting approved 875. Not spending that if the dam is defective, so, which it is.
It is.
Yeah,
So does that change, like, can we ask where we're at on that?
I can give you I'm not going to get into strategy because that's not a good idea.
Okay.
But I will say this much, that it is customary in commercial real estate transactions that if you have a cost to cure, a major defect on the property is deducted from the appraisal. So you start off at a completely different bargaining point, which is one of several ideas I'm pursuing.
So, Matt, if you think about the budget as pieces of a pie, spending and income, as we look ahead to the 26 budget, which will start on in the fall, do you see any pieces of either of those changing much?
Yeah, I think we're going to have, at least Gene and I, a fair amount of gymnastics to do to get, even right away in July, to work our way through carving down the number that I have in the forecast right now to balance. And so at the moment, at this point in the budget process, everything is worst case scenario, right? So the revenue doesn't fully materialize the way we would hope, and then the costs materialize at a higher amount than we would have hoped. That bucket of assumptions is called conservative budgeting, so high costs, low revenues, and then eventually you hope that reality pulls things back and you can be a little bit more, I hate to use the word liberal, but you know what I'm saying, a little bit more, less constrained in making your budget decisions, more flexible. So right now, the major factors I have built into my assumptions are that we continue to have some increase in Blackstone Valley Tech, school bus transportation, I'm pretty much locked into an increase for the Douglas Public Schools as a matter of good faith bargaining and working with the school department to keep their promises. So I have budgeted the amount of money necessary to support the contracts that were negotiated this year. And in the history of the town, it's a big number. Compared to many of our neighboring communities, it's not a big number. But 4% year over year is a big deal for Douglas. And I also have to, at the moment, plan on the worst case scenario for our health insurance benefit program. We've skated for years with 0% rate increases, and that's been an awfully comfortable place to be and a nice place to be. You know, inflation catches up to everyone, market trend catches up to everyone, and then we're making a transition from a much larger group to a smaller group. And to prudently manage that, I'm accepting a lot less risk in terms of stop loss. So our stop loss attachment point this year for claims is $175,000. So the town would self-insure the first 175, or after the deductible, the next 175, and then stop loss would kick in. And we were able to shelter ourselves in the larger group. And if we had cash flow issues or anything related to that really high attachment point for a small town, we could do that. But now that we're going to be in a smaller group, I'm bringing the attachment point all the way down to 70,000, and we're putting an aggregate protection in place. So if we are more than 120% of our projected claims, that will also be covered by stop loss. That's called aggregate coverage, versus the individual claims, that's called specific stop loss. That form of stop loss insurance is a good deal more expensive than what we paid for this year. It's about a 45% increase. Wow. So stop loss is about 6% of the health insurance budget. It's going to be a little bit closer to 11% in the year coming up. So there was a natural rate of increase, and then there was the increase that was incremental because of the change in the plan design. We're running really well so far this year. Not super great, but last year, I think you might recall, we finished at like 129%. Last year, 119%, excuse me. About 400 grand over the budget. And we absorbed it all with the surplus, so none of it came back to the town in the budget process. And we were hoping that that would be an aberration, that wouldn't be a trend that we'd have year after year. So as of right now, we're a little over 100%, but we had a nice, relatively slow month in May, and so far in June. Just knowing where our group is and the issues we have with our group, we're in a pretty good spot to have a nice low June. So we could finish the year at or only slightly above 100%, maybe slightly below it, which is an indication that while we still needed to do a 12% increase for next year, the year following, we should have a good year in the look back when we set rates. So I'm hoping. But I think the real monster in the room, as I just signed a warrant the other day and I had to pick my jawbone up off the table, is school bus transportation, especially the special ed component.
Yeah.
And all of our town manager, town administrators, FinCom folks from around the state are all saying the same thing. It's just a monster. Now, the legislature has tried to respond, but the legislature in Massachusetts often either doesn't appropriate enough money or targets specific communities, and Douglas doesn't get, the full-on share that we wish we would. But if we can't control that expense, all bets are off. So at the moment, I'm holding back. So any department head that has a vacancy in their department, if I can live without it, I'm not filling it this year. Because I don't want to come into the winter with too big of a number to close. That would be too late.
So when we meet again in the fall to kind of see where we stand, we'll see where we stand, right? In terms of what happens over the summer and getting maybe a clearer sense of some of that, or won't you know really until November, December? For
Every month is good to have it go by you with the health insurance stuff, and and you can understand where your trends are. As I've said before, the personnel budget is largely locked in. So I know where everybody's step is. We've had very little turnover in the last 12 months. It's been pretty stable. With one position here at Town Hall that's switched over. And you can project that with almost precision accuracy down to the penny, because you know if people stay, they will be at a certain step, grade and step, and you know what their salary will be, you know what their hours are. So we really look to the expense side to be where we could get surprises. It's impossible to sit here in June and know where we're going to be in October. I'd like to think a lot of this initial appetite for change in Washington will calm itself down as we approach a full year in the presidential administration. So we don't really, inventories haven't soaked up demand yet, or demand hasn't soaked up or used up all the inventory, so we can't really fully appreciate the impact of tariffs widespread tariffs on our cost of doing business. But we have to be mindful of that. We also have to be mindful of the cost of electricity and the cost of home heating fuel or commercial heating fuel as being some of the things that are a little bit more volatile as we head into the fall. But we have very little on the municipal side that we can trim. So that's when I say I'm leaving positions vacant, because that is the quickest way for me and the least painful way. If somebody just leaves on their own, I'm not laying them off, right? So.
Do you have a question, Carol, or comment?
Yeah, I'm curious, how did we make out with the warehouse asking for a reduction on their taxes? Oh, I forget what the word is now.
An abatement.
Abatement, right.
I don't know the exact answer to your question. They filed the abatement. The properties around it actually sold on the free market for prices far higher than our assessor valued their building. So the evidence came firmly in our direction. I'd have to ask Chris Pupka exactly.
Yeah, we don't have an answer yet.
Okay.
It's still pending, but they have not energetically pursued their claim once the data went against them.
I think once somebody's actually in there, it's going to make a whole different ballgame, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of live wires here.
Yeah.
There's a plan A and a plan
We
B.
got a few plans going, they have to buy some more land and stuff. Okay, just curious about that.
Okay, anybody else, questions for me?
Just as a curiosity, on the health insurance plan, what's the plan year, when does the plan year end for experience purposes?
Fiscal year.
Fiscal year?
Yeah. So Monday is the last day of the
Okay.
Yeah. So that's for actives. Retirees, it's Jan 1 to December.
Calendar year for it, okay.
You
go ahead, Carol.
People who are on Medicare, because I know a lot of people that work for the town can't get on it because they never paid into it. But are we still responsible for anything on them if they're on Medicare? Do we pay anything?
Well, first part of your statement confused me a little bit. I'm guessing there might be some people out there who didn't pay into Part B or haven't
No, what
opted
it
for
is
Part B.
with Medicare, if you don't have 40 quarters of working under
Time
Social
served.
Security, you don't get on
You don't
it
get
at
it.
all.
Yeah.
But if you do, then in Massachusetts, if you qualify for Medicare, you have to go on Medicare and not stay on the town.
Right, so what we provide retirees is what's called a Medicare Advantage plan.
Okay,
So it assumes that everybody gets Part
yeah,
A.
that's what I have,
Yeah.
Medicare,
It assumes that you have Part B in place.
right.
And the Advantage plan administers your overall plan. In our case, we buy an Aetna
Right.
plan. And it also has prescription coverage.
Yeah, yeah.
And vision and dental.
That's voluntary.
That's voluntary for retirees?
Well,
No.
dental is.
Dental is, but there's a vision component to the
Yeah, and
Aetna.
that's not like super duper expensive.
It is not, and the town has opted for a 50-50 split on that premium. So it's about-
Maybe Advantage? Oh, so that's not bad at all, then,
I think we're at,
compared to what it must be on the people who unfortunately can't get on Medicare.
right, so the full ride is $320 PM. So that means the town's on the hook for $160 a month per member that's on this individual plan. That's not, and it's a good plan.
Yeah,
It's a
it
very
is. I
good
have it
plan.
myself.
Called Plan F, for those of you who follow Medicare.
Maybe I don't know that.
You probably do. I mean, there's only one better, and it's, like postal service stuff. And,
Anybody else? Yeah, Howard, you have a question? Anybody else for Matt?
Yeah, one other question. Do you make sure that people who are retired who qualify for Medicare do go on it?
Yeah, so that was something that Mike Kuzinski took care of before I got here. I had done that process in Tiverton. It was very painful.
Yeah. I heard it.
I was a day not terribly unlike this on the second floor of a very hard courthouse in Newport, where we settled with the retirees because we picked up their Part B premiums and all the
Right.
penalties
Right.
to get them to leave Blue Cross Blue Shield Classic
Yeah.
to go into Medicare. Here in Douglas, that was all cleaned up before I even started here. Yeah.
Because if they qualify like on their spouses, they can still get on Medicare that way, even if, like, say they were a full-time teacher their whole life, they
Yeah.
were married to someone, they qualified through their spouse, they can get on that.
So we chase it down pretty carefully. That's a lot of money at stake there.
Oh, I
And
know.
the only place we're stuck is if somebody is eligible to retire when they're quite young.
Yeah,
They stay on the town's active
Yeah.
plan, but they still split it 50-50.
yeah.
And that's often a sobering conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my family plan's $26,000. Yeah, it is. 13 for you, 13 for us. And it sometimes changes people's perspective.
All right, anybody else for Matt? Mr. Wojcik, thank you. You may,
You sure?
you may head
Doing
home
that.
if you
I'm
want.
always in the half crouch, and then Howard will say, but
Howard, welcome, by the way. All right, so let's look at our agendas, everybody. So we have interdepartmental transfers. We'll do those first. So Jean, why don't you come to the mic? And I sent everybody her email that listed them. So you can maybe just summarize them for us before we,
Okay,
and we'll do roll call votes tonight, everybody, because we have 2 people on Zoom, so.
I tried to group them for Dick. So the transfer 2 is what you want to look at, Dick. So we have coming from building expense, $4,000, building salaries, $4,000, and community development expenses, $12,000. They are all going to public building maintenance expense, and that is mainly because we're renting the generator outside and the costs associated with that. So you're going to have, that's that right there, those 3 that you're looking at.
Okay, and then do we have any idea when the original generator's going to get fixed?
I do not. It's still in progress. I think we pushed some of the expenses off to July because we just didn't have any room to go with the budget anymore. These are pretty sizable funds to take from other departments at this time of year. So Adam kind of pushed some of the expenses off to July.
If anybody's ever worked in IT and you heard the term cascading failure, so a lot of our electronic controls have burned out either from a lightning strike or a significant surge.
So all of it in that first group there, the 3, are all building expenses. Are they all related to that generator?
Correct.
then?
I was looking for 20,000,
Yeah.
so I just had to take them from different departments.
Now, is that 20,000 1 month of expense for the generator, or what's the,
That is the cost of the rental plus some of the repairs.
okay. I'm just curious, if we don't have an expected timeline on the actual when the generator will be prepared, how much potentially per week or per month are we looking at as far as additional expense?
I don't remember the monthly.
Well, we need the generator,
I think it was
so...
No, I understand.
I
I'm
think it's
just asking.
$1,200 a month.
Yeah, I don't recall. I don't have that with me.
So there was some original setup. Mr. Chairman,
Right.
that involved having to wire it, and that is a non-repeating expense.
Okay.
So I think the rental is closer to $1,200 a month. But
I can send you that in email. The invoice that I have includes other components of it, and I do have a call into the salesman because I was confused on the invoice, and he has not returned my phone call.
Yeah, I was just curious, what we were looking at as potential recurring costs, moving forward until it's fixed.
Yeah, I do have a call into the salesman.
Okay.
All
I
right.
will
Go
tell
ahead,
you
Jean, sorry.
that the budget resets July 1st.
Right.
We will be using the budget. That does not mean we will not come back at the fall town meeting to shore the Adams budget up.
Okay.
Hang on just a sec. Ryan or Heather, do you have a question?
Not for me.
Okay. Heather, you good?
I'm good, thank you.
Procedurally, can we take all three of these as one motion?
Yes.
I think we can. To quote our town moderator, any objection to us taking these three as one motion? So the motion would be that we transfer, well, hold it. They're all from three different categories, so we have to do them as one motion. So let's do the first motion. Would somebody move then that we transfer two public building expenses from building wages, $4,000?
So moved.
So Sandy makes the motion, Howard seconds, so we're going to do a roll call vote. So all in favor?
Rob Leonardi, aye.
Howard D'Amico, aye.
Sandy Kuiper's aye.
Dick Vandenberg, aye.
Carol Godwinski, aye.
Brian Hogan, aye.
Heather's thinking about it.
Okay, well, Heather, did you vote?
I'm up. She's shaking her head.
Aye.
Okay, so that passes
Yes.
unanimously, okay.
I make a motion to approve the second proposed transfer.
Okay, so the second transfer is from building expenses to public building expenses for $4,000. So Howard moves it,
I'll second it.
second by Rob, getting roll call vote, all in favor?
Rob Leonardi, aye.
Howard D'Amico, aye.
Sandy Kuiper's aye.
Dick Vandenberg, aye.
Carol Godwinski, aye.
Brian Hogan, aye.
Heather Moore and I.
Okay, that passes unanimously. And then the third motion would be to transfer to public building expenses from community development expenses, $12,000.
So moved. Nope.
Sandy makes it, Rob seconds.
I'll second.
So roll call vote, all in favor?
Rob Leonardi, aye.
Howard D'Amico, aye.
Sandy Kuiper's aye.
Dick Vandenberg, aye.
Carol Godwinski, aye.
Brian Hogan, aye.
Heather Moore and I.
Okay, thank you, everybody, so that's unanimous. So what we'll do, everyone, is once we vote to adjourn, then we'll sign them and we'll just pass them around, okay? All right, Jean, you want to walk us through the next two then?
Board of Health is what I have next. That is really, again, we ask all the departments to look at what they need to get through the end of the fiscal year, and their salary, the wage account was short. We're transferring from the nurses' wages to the Board of Health wages. So it's, the form you're looking for is a transfer from nurses' salary, $1,500.
Oh, here we go, yeah. And the other one was two?
To Board of Health salaries,
Yeah.
$1,500.
Yeah. Any questions for Jean on either of those, everybody?
I move the first proposed transfer of that group.
Okay, so that's the Board of Health wages from nurses' wages for $1,500, right?
That one.
So Howard moves it,
Second.
second by Sandy. Any discussion, anybody? Okay, roll call vote, all in favor?
Rob Leonardi, aye.
Howard D'Amico, aye.
Sandy Kuiper's aye.
Dick Vandenberg, aye.
Carol Godwinski, aye.
Brian Hogan, aye.
Heather Moore and I.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That's unanimous.
You're up.
And then the $2,000,
So we have going to fire wages from fire expenses, $2,000, and to fire wages, ambulance expenses, $10,000, for a total of $12,000 to fire wages. The assistant chief is here if you want to discuss anything, but it's really to cover them through the end of the fiscal year.
Hold on. Did we cover both of those of the last subgroup?
No.
Do we still need one motion and one approval for the last of the?
Well, oh, that was it. The 1,500 was
It
it.
was just
Yeah.
115.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
1,500.
Kelly, you want to speak to that a little bit? Just give us a 3-minute backstory.
Sure.
I mean, why do we need the money now, I guess is the question.
Yeah, so we had some unforeseen, hold on, just.
Yeah, come to the,
I need to yell across
yeah,
the-
one
No, no,
chair.
you're good, you're good.
and please identify yourself for the record.
I'm Kelly Manning, I'm the deputy fire chief.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I called you assistant.
It's
I
okay.
apologize.
No worries. All good. So our primary drivers of overtime and use of part-time salaries, we had several things kind of go on over the course of the year that led us to this point. At the beginning of the fiscal year, we had 2 members attend the fire academy, which is a contractual obligation, and we had to backfill their shifts. Then we had another member out on an FMLA leave from December until mid-April, necessitating covering those shifts. We had to cover some military leave, and then there was a notable increase in time off usage towards the end of the year, which I think it's important to note that our career staff paid time off is structured around their individual employment anniversary rather than fiscal year for most of the other town employees. And this allows the paid time off to carry across 2 fiscal years, which complicates our ability to precisely forecast time off usage associated with coverage needs. So that kind of led us to this point in being a little bit short.
Okay, any questions for
So
Kelly?
this is really covering the whole year and not just like the last month or 2.
Correct.
This is really covering.
We were going to be close with those other events that happened, but then when we had an increase in usage of paid time off, and then emergencies, of course, we have been extremely busy in the last 45 days, many days where we do simultaneous calls, which necessitates recalling off-duty, part-time, and career personnel on overtime for the career personnel, and occasionally overtime for some of our part-time personnel that work a lot of hours for us. So that's kind of where we're at. Luckily, we were able to reduce spending in our ambulance expense budget by leveraging, competitive pricing between 2 of our EMS vendors, as well as the vendor that which we purchased medications from. So we were able to save about $10,000, which we weren't expecting given shortages that have been going on in recent years, and then tariffs potentially on items that we purchased. So we did well there.
Are there many EMS vendors?
So there's some major ones, and 2 of the major ones that we work with, we were able to, like I said, leverage to get better pricing, and our EMS coordinator worked very hard to get the best pricing on a lot of the items that we use in bulk, and that resulted in a substantial savings.
Well, good for you guys.
It's a victory amidst this climate that we're working in.
Okay, any more questions for Kelly on that? So the motion would be, we don't have a motion on the floor yet, do we? I don't think so. So the motion would be to transfer 2 ambulance wages from ambulance expense, $2,000.
I think the 2 that Jean brought up was from fire expense to fire wages and ambulance expense to fire wages.
It is, but they all fall into the same story.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you want to take them in that order, that's fine.
If you want, I don't know if you want to do all 3 or.
Well, they're all from different accounts,
Do them one at
though.
a time,
Right.
there's no
Yeah.
confusion.
So let's do the first bullet then. Would somebody make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, Rob, thanks.
Seconded.
Second by Howard. Roll call vote, all in favor, say aye.
Robin Leonardi, aye.
Howard D'Amico, aye.
Sandy Kuiper's aye.
Dick Vandenberg, aye.
Carol Godwinski, aye.
Brian Hogan, aye.
Heather Moore and I.
Okay, that's unanimous. And then the next bullet is 2 fire wages from fire expenses, about $2,000. What's that one, Cal?
It's the same.
Just
same
all part of the
story.
same
Yes.
package. Would somebody make that motion then?
I guess I'll make that motion.
Carol, thank you. So Carol moves it,
Very active.
seconded by Sandy, thank you. Discussion, anybody? Okay, roll call vote. All in favor, say aye.
Rob Leonardi, aye.
Howard D'Amico, aye.
Sandy Pepper's aye.
Dick Vandenberg, aye.
Carol Godwinski, aye.
Brian Hogan, aye.
Heather Moore and I.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Unanimous.
I'll move the third proposed transfer in this.
Okay, so 2 fire wages from annual expenses, $10,000. So Howard moves it.
Second.
Second by Rob, thank you. Discussion, anybody? Okay, roll call vote. All in favor, say aye.
Rob Leonardi, aye.
Howard D'Amico, aye.
Sandy Pepper's aye.
Dick Vandenberg, aye.
Carol Godwinski, aye.
Brian Hogan, aye.
Heather Moore and I.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it. And then we have reverse reserve fund transfers, right, Jean?
We do. We have one. And just a blanket statement. When I have these issues come up this time of year, the reserve fund is not sufficient to cover, things like the generator. So we did look for other departments. They wanted to make sure. That does not mean they didn't need the money. It just means certain circumstances happened this year where they had the money available for me to, in their words, take it from them. The reserve fund only had about $13,000 left, which is why we had to go the different route. We had 3 students move into town on 315 for Norfolk Aggie, which means the town of Douglas is now responsible for those students. Not something we could anticipate. That is the reserve fund I chose to put forward. So what we did is it's voted as one line on the annual town meeting, so both the transportation and the tuition factor into that. So we did have some money that was available within the budget, but we were short $7,600.
So the amount requested is $7,600, right?
Correct.
And Jean, on the paperwork, it says the present balance is $131,000.
It is, because I did not pay the second half of the bill. So the bill came in at $138,593.48. So we pay it in 2 installments.
Okay. So a motion would be that everybody to transfer from the reserve fund $7,600 to
Norfolk County Agricultural.
Norfolk County Agricultural.
So this is just to cover our portion of the school year, or just, I'm just trying to
Our
understand?
portion of the students that moved in. So we're responsible for 315 to the end of the school
Okay,
year.
that's what I was trying to get.
So they prorated the tuition.
Okay.
We tried, we really did go back to them and said, we didn't know, don't charge us, but that did not work. We did try, and actually Courtney and I tag teamed them, so that did not work.
Didn't work.
No. It's expensive, it's $27,000 a student to go there,
I don't think I paid that much for a coffee.
plus transportation.
I move to approve that transfer.
Okay, Howard moves, seconded by Sandy. Thank you. Discussion? Okay, roll call vote. All in favor, say aye.
Rob Leonardi, aye.
Howard D'Amico, aye.
Sandy Pepper's aye.
Dick Vandenberg, aye.
Carol Godwinski, aye.
Brian Hogan, aye.
Heather Moore and I.
Okay, that's unanimous. So I think we're done with inter, and reserve fund transfers, correct?
And I thank you again for meeting at this late time of the year. This was a tough year end, I'm not going to lie.
The air conditioning's on in the building, so I don't mind coming.
Yeah, it's not too cold. I hate it.
There are no burgers, there are no hot dogs, there's no watermelon,
You have a point,
right?
right?
But you have my deepest appreciation.
Worth
Makes
more.
up for everything.
Worth more.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the minutes of Cinco de Mayo minute. This was right before the annual town meeting. Rob, you had a correction,
Actually,
right?
there's actually 2 things that I wanted to bring up. Seeing Howard walk in the door, Howard's not listed as somebody who was absent from that meeting, so we should actually have him added as an absentee on the, if that matters, on the meeting minutes. It just has Ryan as listed as an absentee.
Okay.
And then the other thing that I noticed is on item number 1, where it says at 2:05, it talks about the $4,500 move from community development to selectmen expenses. And it said that I opposed and all other members were in favor. I didn't oppose, so I don't remember who exactly opposed. But
I just went over that meeting again, and there was one decline.
was it Mike? potentially?
I think Mike and Carol.
I think it was, no, I think it was Mike.
Is that on?
Right.
Well, I'll ask Heather to watch the tape again. She
Yeah,
can
there
fix
was
it.
one decline, but I don't think it was
no,
you.
It wasn't me.
It
I
wasn't
think it was
you.
Mike.
I think so too.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's why I just wanted to bring that up as just a point of
Okay.
Because
clarification.
I went over that meeting today just because I wanted to know our questions about the dam inspection.
Right.
Yeah,
Maybe what we should do is wait till Louise then.
yeah, we should wait because they're not quite
Because we're
correct.
not- that's pretty-
Well, or we can approve them with the understanding that our minute taker will fix them, but we can wait if you want. So why don't we just approve them with the understanding that there are a few corrections that have to be made? Is that okay with everybody?
I don't think we can do that, can we?
No, I think they
I
have to
don't
be
know what
corrected.
I think
What the
we
rules are.
amend them.
Well, if it's simply a correction, I think you could note the correction and
It
then,
could be a correction.
I don't think you can do that, Dick. I think you need to wait to make sure for clarification purposes.
do you?
So,
Just a little helpful hint.
yeah.
Okay, so noted. So we will table this till later then.
Cool.
Okay. All right. So to be determined, our next meeting, I think we normally meet in September or October. Jean, what's your memory of?
Probably the third week of September, second and third week.
And we'll reorganize at that meeting then, because we have to wait till the new fiscal year. So stay tuned on that, everybody. I'll be sending you
Okay.
an email.
For sure, yeah. Okay.
Anybody have anything else?
Regarding appointments for the committee,
Yeah. Oh, Carol, Ryan, and Sandy, are you guys all good for a new third term?
I sent it in, but I never heard back.
Yeah, I said something and said I was, but
Ryan, how about you? Did you ever hear from the town moderator?
I have not.
Okay. Well, he's been notified, it sounds like.
Yeah,
I think so, but you never know for sure. When you send an email out, does it really go where you think it's going? Who knows?
agreed. Is it going to be read?
Or is it going to be read?
and with mine kind of being a mid-year, I didn't know if I was finishing out somebody else's term or if my term starts, effective last year. I wasn't quite sure how that's
Well, you're a
handled.
lifer now, so it doesn't really.
I'm more than happy to re-up, but I don't know when my term is up, so to
Gene,
speak.
that's right after the sensitive part, right?
My sense is because there wasn't somebody who resigned and you filled in, it was just a vacancy.
Right.
Okay, that's my sense.
My sense is your 3-year clock is,
No, okay,
starting.
that's fine. I just wanted to make clarification.
Howard, does that sound right?
I doubt it. My sense is they are 3-year terms. You're just filling a vacancy somewhere within
Right.
one of the 3-year terms. And it
Okay.
might be expiring right now. But if 3 of them are renewing now, chances are
It's probably
that
not me this year.
Yeah.
Can we find this stuff out at the town clerk's office, or where will we go to find out?
Selectman. Lisa would know.
Lisa would know?
She's sort of
Or we
in
gotta go
touch.
down and get sworn into the town?
She's in touch with the town moderator.
Right, okay.
All right, anybody else, anything? All right, so we have a motion to adjourn by Sandy, second by Rob. We need a roll call vote on this, so all in
you
favor,
already
say
got
aye.
it.
Okay.
I was thinking of
Howard D'Amico, aye.
Dick Vandenberg, aye.
Carol Godowinski, aye.
Brian Hogan, aye.
Heather Moore and I.
Those two are.
Thank you, everybody. We adjourn at 7:38.
All right.